Hello and welcome to COM 451, Communication for Science. And this class is designed whether you are a scientist or don't are not a scientist. Uh, this is a communication class. So some of you have a really rich, deep background with communication. Some of you have been in my classes before, so you have an idea of how I approach the field of communication. You can expect some of that here. And we're taking the world of science and thinking about it with communication. This video here is where I'm calling it the silly video. It's where I'm going to go over all the assignments for what to expect this term, how I've designed it, and what you can expect. Um, so, welcome, and I can't wait to meet you all. Even though we are meeting remotely, this is a asynchronous online class. There is a lot of components of the class that have a social component, and I'm looking forward to the deliverables that you're bringing in and your perspectives, and each one of you. I really want to encourage you to be yourself in this class and bring what you find interesting, and let's let that shine here. All right, so I have open on the side here our Canvas page, and I'm looking at the Start Here module. So the Start Here module is almost like if I took the syllabus and I broke it down into each a page. There is one that just says syllabus, and it has what you could expect in in a syllabus. It has it's a 4-credit class. That means I'm supposed to deliver 4 hours of content a week. Uh, and that's besides homework and other things like that, though in a class like online, it kind of gets shifted a little. So I consider your engagement with the content of the class as part of that homework piece here. And there's a lot. I include a lot of YouTube videos, podcasts, articles, and you have your books that you might be reading, or you're going to be reading a book in the class, but whichever one you're reading, you'll be adding to it. Uh, Again, my name is Sarah Sheldrick. I am completing my PhD in environmental science. I study conflict and negotiations over water issues. I'm a certified mediator for water conflict, and that I've been working at Oregon State University with some really amazing people in the field of water. And my area of interest is Oregon. So I study water law and tribal relationships with tribal and indigenous groups in Oregon and seed maps and draw from the Columbia River specifically. It's a big river. It's got a lot of water in it. I am also, so how do I come to science communication is that my bachelor degree and my background is in theater and storytelling and documentary filmmaking. So I'm a storyteller and I like working with people to tell their stories or working with scientists to translate their stories, translate their science into story so that we can get more knowledge and making it more accessible. And I'm hoping to share some of that with you here today, this term. At the heart of this class is this idea that there's science and then there's a non-scientific expert, non-expert audience. And how do you convey information across that? Often scientists are dealing with a lot of stereotypes uh, and different issues, and sometimes the news isn't great and they're the messenger, and there's a lot of things that are happening culturally, and science and scientists and engineers and computer scientists are often getting the brunt of that. And so we want to figure out how we can help science and our STEM fields be able to enter into the world of communicating their ideas so there's less misunderstanding, less misinformation, as much as possible, though it is a big world of information. It's sometimes hard to navigate. I I made a separate video just for the book, so I'm not going to talk about those here. Uh, just because we're all in our separate boxes, in our separate rooms, and we're not in a shared public space like a classroom, doesn't mean that this Canvas page and this Canvas site is our classroom, and I expect a certain professional and academic conduct in this space. I expect things to be moving towards a positive intention, an intention of curiosity, an intention to learn, an intention to interact, and we are going to practice communicating. So when we practice communicating, we're going to make a lot of videos. We're going to be doing a lot of assignments where we are going to be exploring how we talk and how we say things. Uh, please make sure all the work you do in this class is your own. There is a late work policy in this class. So let me explain it, even though it's written out here, and I have a separate page just for the late work policy. But what you need to understand is that Canvas, I put a due date on Canvas. The date and the time is usually 9 p.m. If I just put the date and I put it up, it'll make 11:59 the due date as the automatic one, which is why you might be used to a midnight due date. However, in my class, it's 9 p.m. I manually changed that for my assignments. Uh, if you were you're not this isn't an in-person class, but sometimes things are due in class and then the time changes for the class time, but we don't have to worry about that here. Uh, so that is not always best for everyone, 9 p.m. If you're writing the deadline, of course, if you get it in before the due date, it's not an issue, but we're all very busy people. So you might be writing a deadline into that 9 p.m. time, but it's okay. You have a whole nother 24 hours before the first points are taken off for being late. So let's say you're running into that 9 p.m. deadline and you're like, I can't. I'm overwhelmed. This is stressful. I feel sick. Uh, someone in my family feels sick, my dog or my cat. I need to be there for someone else or for myself. Whatever is happening in the minutia of your life. If you need a little bit of extra time, if you're not feeling well, just go to bed, wake up refreshed, and get the homework done the next day. You have till 9 p.m. the next day before I'll take off the first late points. And the first late points, you still actually have a little more wiggle room even after that, because I'll only take 10% off after 24 hours. So what does that mean? Most assignments in this class are about 25 points. So 10%, we're talking a couple points. And maybe it'd be worth it to just lose a couple points on an assignment so you could have some even more extra time. And then after the 24-hour, that 10% kicks in up to 3 days. 72 hours is 3 days later. And after 72 hours, it goes up to 20%. And then after that, you have 5 days. So on the third day, it goes up to 20%, and then you have 5 days. And once that assignment closes on Canvas, it is not available for submission any longer. So that gives you from the time an assignment opens to with this buffer in it. But wait, that's not all. There's even another buffer if you don't want, if you want to use those full 5 days after a due date on Canvas, you have something called flex points, and that's for three assignments of your three assignments that come in past that 24-hour buffer. You can, hold on a second, let me just take some water. You can use a flex point, one flex point to not have any late points taken off at all. Everyone still has the 5 days. After an assignment closes, there's no flex point to reopen. You can't do that. But you could use all of that time still if you need it, especially if you got really sick. It is a horror. I am hearing news story after news story about the flu season this year. It sounds like a really bad flu. It could knock you out for a week. And maybe as you're slowly recovering, you want to use all of those 5 days. That's what that flex point is. I talk about the flex points on Canvas. You can go in there and look at it. For me, these three flex points, if you decide to use them, it's really for your own privacy. It's for fairness, to be fair, that everyone has a chance to have a flex submission system. And that privacy piece, you don't have to tell me you were sick. You don't have to tell me there was a family emergency. Uh, you can if you want to, but you also have the right to privacy. I'm not your boss. This is not a job, and I'm not going to act like it's a job. You signed up for a class. This is the class, and this is the policy of the class, and you deserve some privacy and self-care for you as an adult in this class, for you to decide what is best for you for your own well-being and care. So use them wisely. Those three, don't use them up too fast or too soon, because if something comes up later and they're gone, they're gone. So that's the way they work. If you don't use them, if you don't use them, then they become extra credit points, which sometimes can be just the difference you need to pull you up. So if you leave them, or if you only use one and you have two left, those would become extra credit points. You'll see the flex in the grade center. When I load it in, you'll see the flex point column. You'll see it like this. I see it like this. You see it like this. And you'll see it'll start with three. So it'll start right off with all three, and then I'll take them away as you use them. And when I take one out, I usually will write in the comments. You'll see a little box appear in the comments part, and I'll usually just list the assignment I took it for. Just that's it. So if there's any time, keep an eye on that. If I'm moving fast when I grade, and everyone's in this Excel kind of spreadsheet grid, and sometimes I misclick and things. So don't just assume because you see an error that I went after you. Maybe I just clicked the wrong box, and to just inquire and with grace, and we can get it fixed. I'm here to help make sure that we are being as accurate as possible so you can get your represented correctly, your grade represented correctly. In the late work page on Canvas, there is a note about student athletes and any college representatives. I know we get a lot of people who who need the flexibility of an online class. So you can turn things in as you want. We have a team meeting assignment. There's three of them in the course of a term. Now, the late policy is different for team meetings. Team meetings are a completely different assignment. And that means that when a team, once I announce the teams, someone in the team is probably going to send a message out, get those replies, ask if people wouldn't mind turning it into a message chat instead, because that has a lot better access than it always being on email. And sometimes you lose track of the chain of trying to figure out a time, which is the hardest part of the team meeting. Let's face it. It's figuring out the time. Someone's going to volunteer to be the Zoom host. And if you volunteer to be a Zoom host and you've never done that before, I'm here for you. Call me up. Let's set a time. Let's make sure you've got it the way it's supposed to be, because if it needs to be recorded in gallery mode, your team meeting needs to be. That means where I see all the boxes. If I get speaker, kind of how you see me, I'm the only one talking and that's the only one I see. That is, we are studying listening in this class. And if I can't see you listening, we are going to have trouble with that submission. So make sure if you take on the responsibility of recording that you understand how to use Zoom, how to set up the settings in the web account. Even if you're using the free one, there's ways to get this all set up, and I can help with that. Or you can go to the computer help desk at Western, and they can help as well to make sure you've got it set up the way it's supposed to be set up for this assignment. So once you get in contact and you figure out, there'll be a list of questions that you'll have to get ready for the meeting. So getting ready for the meeting is part of the assignment. Part of the assignment is communicating, figuring out a time and doing that. It is a type of conflict, so doing that in a kind way, because it's really hard with everyone's schedules, especially with athletes. We really want to figure out how to make it accessible for everyone. And then, and if anyone in the class is in a different time zone, we definitely want to consider that as well. So let's all do what we can to make sure everyone's included. Uh, when you're trying to figure out the time, okay, I'm coming to the point. When you're trying to figure out the time, I have the due date set on Canvas, but if you read carefully through team meeting policies, you have 5 extra days beyond that where you could meet with your team and submit, and I will not take off any late points. Actually, it's not 5 days. For this class, it's 7-day grace period. So that's even better. So if you need an extra 7 days to do your team meeting, however, if the whole so here's what happens. If one person can't make the meeting, or if one person just slips up, please, this is another good reason to have phone numbers so you can really try and contact everyone and try and get it figured out, just in case someone forgets and you can get them in there. That would be really nice if you could help each other out with that. But if one person misses a meeting, that one person can make it up. There's special instructions. If you fall into that, you have to work with me, and we figure out a plan. If the whole team misses the meeting, or more than 2 people are missing the meeting, then the whole team loses the ability to make up that meeting. So you have to meet as a team within the desired time frame, which is usually about a 2-week window to find some time. Let's get that done, and don't push it too far to that 7-day deadline, because if there's any technical issues or things like that, we don't want to put you in a stressful situation. Give yourself a buffer. Okay, I hope that helped. Team meetings have a different late policy than other ones. Okay, let's also now talk about other things you can expect in this class. The team meeting is a pretty big assignment. It is a huge percentage of your grade. Other assignments you have are called, I call them science communication reports, but basically they're interacting with the course. So there's week 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then there's the final report at the very end. And these ones are where you're going to go into the content of Canvas. I usually have several videos up. several YouTube videos. I have a lecture video. I call those tiny desk videos. I sometimes have a podcast or articles. And the science report will have in, I'd like you to use my format for it. Keep it in my format when you turn it in. This is not an essay. I like it with the headings and subheadings, bolded vocabulary, making sure you are referencing and citing things. You just talk about the class. So it's a good thing to do uh, as soon as that assignment opens to be able to track which videos you liked and the vocabulary so you can integrate it into your report. So we have our team meetings. There's three of those. You have your science reports. There's the book. I did talk a lot about the book assignments in the video I made for choosing a book, but there's three book reports. The first one is book choice. You're just going to tell me which book you chose and why. And remember, I said this in the other video, but I'm going to repeat it again because it's just this important. The why should be about you. So why did I choose this book? Because I am interested in a career. I study this. This is one of my favorite topics. I really found this author interesting. Maybe I had trouble deciding which book, and I had trouble deciding which book, and so I just went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I'm glad it landed on this one. Or I didn't like one of the other books, and this one I'd never heard of, and it sounded interesting where's the because? Okay, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's a pretty short video. It'll go really fast, and that's our first one. Book report two, you'll check in about midterm, and book report three is towards the end of the term. The book has to be completed, read by week 7 of the term. Okay, the other types of assignments are other discussion boards, kind of our social piece, where you'll make videos and post little written description boxes with your video. Remember, it's a communication class, so get ready. You're going to make a lot of videos. We've got one called Kids and Science, and we're going to look at the way science is communicated to kids. So think about your own experience as a kid. Did you watch Magic School Bus or Bill Nye the Science Guy? Or I don't know. When I was a kid, there was a show on PBS called 321 Contact. Loved it. I didn't miss a single episode. I still know the theme song, but I'm not going to sing it for you. Though it's going through my head right now, it's really hard not to say it out loud. Okay, but anyway, so we're going to talk about what is happening there. And that's a really fun week because that whole week it will be about different things with communicating with kids from YouTube, Mark Rober, all the way to Time Magazine, and maybe some Greta Thunberg might be in there. We'll see what happens, but there's a lot of things with kids and science, so it's kind of an interesting topic. There's another one called the analogy. The analogy is, we're going to talk about the difference between a figurative analogy and a literal analogy. And that means that when I am talking about something and I'm trying to compare it, an analogy is a type of comparison. You can either compare it to something exactly the same, like I'm going to compare this spaghetti dish to this spaghetti dish, or this pizza from this pizza place to this pizza place. That would be a literal analogy. A figurative analogy is where you compare it to something that has nothing to do with this to help us better understand it. So that would be like, I'm going to compare Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese, and brie cheese to different types of rocks. Uh, and if I was a geologist and I was going to compare cheese and rocks, we know a lot about cheese, but we don't know a lot about rocks. And I'm going to use this kind of figurative analogy. We'll get more into that when we get close to it, but you'll have to make think of one. It's a creative assignment. And then there's another one, mind over matter, and that's another type of assignment where we are going to be trying to convey a scientific principle, and we'll be doing probably one for your book as well, where you're going to have to choose something that a scientific principle that was described in your book, and then you're going to have to describe, say, this author talked about this concept and this is what they said about it, but you got to say it in your own words. That brings me to a really important point. In this class, we speak what's called extemporaneously. It's like saying supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Extemporaneously means that you are speaking in a conversational way. I am speaking extemporaneously, meaning I have a plan of what I want to say, but I'm not reading anything and I didn't memorize anything. I am just going through the order of topics that I want to talk about with you. So you're going to do the same type of thing. And that means it does take practice. It means taking a plan. You might write out what you're going to say. You might practice it, but you don't want to practice so much that it becomes memorized or stale or choppy. Because I memorized it, I can only remember it like, right, like I don't want any of this. I'm over exaggerating, but definitely no memorization or stagnant styles. I want the ums and the ahs and the human feeling of you speaking, you explaining something. That means you got to know your topic pretty well and you have to practice within this kind of time frame bubble. That is part of the skill we are learning in science communication. So I'm going to be forcing you into these time constraints to be able to express an idea in a concise way. Let's get that fluff out of there. Let's remove the fluff. Uh, and then it's not improvisation. Improvisation, it would be like I give you the topic and go talk about it. We're not doing that either. So it does take planning and practice, but you're not memorizing and you're not going to read. That means your note cards are really important. Make sure that you, I think, don't have anything on a screen behind when you're recording your videos, where you would might look to the side or be like, okay, here's where, yeah, we don't want that. We want engagement, and we want you to, if you're keeping track of what you're going to say, you can use a note card that only has keywords. So you just have to look down on it to remember what the next point you want to make is. Okay. So it is a big challenge of this class. It is a type of public speaking, but we are doing it in these discussion board recorded videos, which is a big part of our modern society now. So we're going to develop some comp skills here. Okay, that makes up this class. The modules open up on Mondays, and it has the assignments coming up for the week. And some assignments open up a little bit delayed because I want to make sure that I have other things kind of in order. I consider this class a living, breathing class. That means that the reason why things open up once a week and you don't see the whole class is because I'm working on it. I'm shaping the class as we go, even though this is the fourth time I've taught this class. So I'm getting better at it, for sure. It's one of my favorite topics to teach. However, uh, things change, and as I learn about what you might need or where we're at with the class, I sometimes make adjustments as we're going. So this class is a living, breathing entity. I sometimes change a due date. I usually change a due date if I feel like uh, something got opened too late, or I feel like the assignment might be a little more complicated than I first thought, and I want to give you a few extra days. I'm never going to make it due sooner all of a sudden, but you might see a date shift or change through the term. And If you're not sure about something, please just send me a message. I prefer inbox on Canvas because the Woo email, if your email is anything like my email, it is full of a lot of emails, and your email is the most important one. When it comes on Canvas inbox, it's just students, and so I can give it the full attention it deserves, and I don't have to weed it out from all the other things I have to think about as part of my job. All right. I hope you have a good term, and I'm looking forward to engaging in this topic with everybody. Bye.